Okay. Okay, so Assalamu alaikum everyone. I thought we would go a little deeper into what we did last time. Because there are new people that are coming on every session, I tend to repeat some aspects, particularly the meditation aspect of it. And I think it's important for those who are new, to catch hold of, get a sense of really what meditation is. I would like to, however, next week, the Monday and Wednesday session, devote both the days to longer and deeper meditation. Just the nature of the sessions at the moment means that we're just able to do a little bit of meditation and we're going to more self-awareness work. But next week, I would like to have 2 long sessions on meditation, fewer words, more meditation. Hope that's okay with you. So let us again start off with our understanding of meditation. I'm going to use a different analogy before I step into the analogy I use of a cloud. And some of you may have heard this analogy before. Imagine you're on a platform of an incredibly busy train station, London St. Pancras, very busy train station. You observe trains coming into the station, trains actually taxiing into the platform, their movement in, their movement out. So you see the before, the middle, and the end of the journey. And you know that they're coming, and you know that they're going. You're aware they're coming, and you're aware they're going. You can perceive their movement. And that's what happens when we are the sky. The analogy we've made in meditation. The sky knows whether you compute 2 + 2 = 4 or 2 + 2 = 6. The knower of what is going on is the same. The content of what is known will be different. The same analogy, the sky always knows it's the sky. The clouds may be different. The thought processes may be different. The beliefs may be different. But the eye that knows always knows. You can never not know. You can never not perceive. You can never not be aware of things around you. So there is that which is aware. Again, the analogy, there is the eye that is on a train station, the platform, observing the trains, which, if we use our analogy again, are thoughts going in and out. So it's really important, I feel, for the work that we did last week and what we're going to do this week, that we are really clear that that oneness that many of us in our meditation practices have experienced, are experiencing, is not a separate oneness. My oneness is not separate to your oneness. Your oneness is not separate to my oneness. It's not a better oneness or a Muslim oneness or a Christian oneness or a Hindu oneness. It's beyond all labels. And that is the space of I am. That is the space of I am. And as we begin our understanding of meditation, time and time again, we've said something that it's really important to understand what is meditation. Because when I am in that space of I am, when I'm not worried that 2 and 2 equals 4 or 2 and 2 equals 6, I'm not focusing on the object of my awareness, but knowing that I am that which is aware. In that space of sky or of awareness, I'm not generating any energy. In fact, all the energy that's invested in my thought processes, in my beliefs, in my rights and wrongs, in shoulds and should nots, and all the clouds that have become my identity, in that awareness of sky, of I am, I'm not feeding any of my processes. I'm not feeding any of my patterns. And because I'm not doing that, I'm in a space of gathering energy. And that's why so many people, once they come out of their meditation, there's a sense of aliveness that they experience. There's a sense of energy they experience. I feel it's a really deep state of alertness and awareness. It's not being lost in some exotic location. It is really deep stillness, awareness, alertness. And because of limitation of language, we will use words like peace and calm and stillness. And again, it is beyond all labels. As the space of I am, we used the analogy, didn't we, that I am that which knows, I am that which is aware. And so I am aware of my feelings, but I'm not my feelings. I am aware of my thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. I'm aware of my sight, my hearing, my tasting, my touching, my sensing, but I'm not my senses. I'm not that which is objective. Is that making sense? I feel it's try to break down something into its bare elements can be a little bit challenging sometimes, but I hope I've beginning to do this a little, to do justice to this space of awareness, a space of I am. And so one of the first principles that we say in order to explore this space of I am, we don't explore concentration. The sky is not concentrated on the cloud. That would not be meditation. Meaning I'm not concentrated on a point or a thought or a concept or an idea. All of that is the working of the mind. So we understand awareness. We are aware. Right now, I'm aware. I've expanded my awareness. I'm aware of the sound of the AC, a little bit of a humming in my earphones, the lights that are around me, the desk and the birds around me. There's some birds outside in the garden. I'm aware. I'm aware. I'm not concentrated on anything. I'm aware. So the sky is aware of all the clouds. It's just fully aware. And remember what we said? In this field of awareness are my thoughts in the form of clouds and my feelings and my perceptions. But I am aware of externally and internally. I am that which is aware. So how do you experience yourself? How do you experience that which is aware? And that's what meditation is, experiencing self. And it's interesting, and I'm sure in all religions it's the same, and in Islam, in the Hadith, it's whoever knows thyself knows thy Lord. And I'm sure it's the same in all religions, that when there is more clarity of the self, then there is more clarity on the larger perspective, let's say, however we wish to coin the larger perspective. So right now, how do I tune into myself? I am aware. So just asking yourself the question, am I aware? Am I aware? In that moment of asking myself that question, am I aware? I become alert to being aware. I become alert in that moment to being aware. Just like when someone says, listen to me, are you listening to me? And we become alert to listening. I become alert to being aware. And in that moment where I'm alert to being aware, there's a space where I'm not creating any thoughts. Until, of course, the habit of thoughts come in and they pull me away. But in that brief moment when I say, am I aware? There is complete presence fullness. Pardon the grammar. Complete presence fullness. Now we want to capacity build that presence fullness. So we become alert to what takes us out of being present and aware. We've explored the concept of zoning out, a childhood habit where we just seem to tune out. We're in a conversation with someone and we tune out, we zone out. And in our tuning out and entering that twilight zone, we're lost in thoughts. Some people refer to that as daydreaming. Perhaps. I'm alert to being aware and I'm alert to zoning out, which means I'm alert that I don't tune out, zone out. So we're doing things gently. We're not doing things by force. I'm not going to zone out. You become aware to zoning out rather than being really stringent and strong with the self. That brings resistance into your field of awareness. You don't want any heaviness. You don't want any force. I'm alert to being aware, alert to zoning out. And the other thing we're alert to, just the thoughts that come and carry us away. The analogy we use is that of a surfboard. It's like a surfboard comes and I get on a surfboard and I'm lost in a whole heap of expansion of thoughts. So when I'm alert to being aware, I'm alert to zoning out or not zoning out. That's my primary awareness. The space of I am. alert, being aware, presencefulness. And my secondary awareness in this case may be some thoughts that come by and they go, but I don't piggyback on them. I don't get into them. The surfboard comes and it goes. More I incubate myself in this awareness, the more I'm opening up, being alert to being aware, it's the complete opposite of how I'm living my life. I'm so lost in the clouds, I'm so lost in the doing that I tend to go in these courses and do a little bit of meditation. So that means I'm the sky, I'm the cloud, and I go and enter the sky for a while and I come back and be the cloud again. And that's not what we want. We want to be the sky all the time. That's the awareness that we want to bring into our life. So meditation is not a practice. Yes, we do it morning and evening. We do it because we're so used to thinking and creating resistance, but it's an awareness, it's a perfume that I bring that presencefulness into my life. So my secondary awareness are my emotions, my feelings, my thoughts. They're there. Okay, they're there. And I used the word last time, smoothing out our patterns, and we will look at that again a little bit today. So let's go into that space of meditation. Alert to being aware. Presencefulness. Alert to zoning out. Alert to that surfboard. Soft awareness. It's not something that it's not intense, it's a soft awareness. 1 minute starts now. Okay, that's 1 minute. So you will notice that within that space, as your practice deepens, the depth of your stillness will deepen. The depth of your stillness will deepen. And it's that the vibration of stillness that you bring into your life. That you bring into your life. As opposed to the vibration of noise and judgment that we have at the moment. Okay, let's try it again. 1 minute. Starts now. Okay. So I know some of you are more experienced meditators, and it may be a little annoying for you that after a minute or so we're stopping, but I hope you can be patient because there are some people here who've a little new to meditation. We will be doing longer meditations next week. And I do find it, for that depth of stillness, for myself, it may be different for you. It takes me a little bit of time. There are fleeting thoughts that come, and that 1 minute is reasonably okay, 1 minute or 2 minutes, but for that depth to come and that really deeper stillness takes a little bit of time, you know, going into 10, 15, 20 minutes and some longer meditations. Yeah. Should we try it again? One last time. Let's pull it a little bit now. We'll go on to about 2, 3 minutes and let's see where it goes. Okay. Starts now. Am I aware? Alert to being aware. Alert to zoning out. Alert to the surfboard. Okay. Good, thank you. It's not entirely easy doing this with a screen full of flickering things going on. But the idea in your quiet space, your capacity build this space of being alert to being aware. And I do feel that we're not trying to get anywhere. There's no place to get to. I feel that as I start reclaiming back that energy that I've lost to my beliefs, my clouds, and my patterns, I start becoming a lot more sensitive to life. That space of vibrancy and wholeness, and that the name for that is beauty or love. And so to be able to live in that awareness just feels very alive. Feels very joyous. And so I feel that's really what our meditation work is taking us towards. Now, going back to last week's subject matter of how do I make a difference. So I'm really glad actually that we have spent a fair bit of time today in exploring and again, speaking about meditation. And I'm going to just share a slide with you, sorry. The one that we showed you last time. So when I'm talking about self-awareness, again, I'm not making a distinction here that I'm any holier or higher or better than anyone else. I'm on a path where I'm consciously understanding the self, the space of I am, and exploring the resistance that I have created in my life that takes me away from that space. So when I'm in that space of I am, that self-aware space, my movement is one that's free from judgment. I avoid the rights and the wrongs and getting into conversations of right and wrong, because that creates resistance. There is no right and wrong. Right and wrong is everything that's been conditioned into me. We're not born with rights and wrongs. I think probably the universal right and wrong is thou shalt not kill. That is one universal right and wrong I feel that all of us know at a deeper level. The world is neither bad nor good. I gave the analogy last time, and you know, we use people, we hear the word terrorist, and you've heard this analogy, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. We all, depending upon where we are, what our beliefs are, how we perceive things, we tend to gravitate towards the right and the wrongs and the goods and the bad. But of course, the state of sky is not right and wrong or good or bad. Again, the analogy we use, I'm on a platform and trains are coming in. I'm not saying, oh, I don't like that train, or Lord, that train's working rather slowly, or that train's a bit rickety. That's not what I am about. Things happen from me. They don't happen to me. I feel that's really important to understand. Probably one of the most early lessons in a spiritual discourse. And that is that I am energy. I am an energy being in an energy universe. And my thought, the interplay between my thoughts and my emotions create my vibration. As my vibration, so it attracts towards itself. Now, how is that different to someone who's so obsessed with the clouds, so self-absorbed in his identity of man, woman, culture, religion, society, rights and wrongs, do's and don'ts? They're all the time in a space of measurement and judgment, full of rights and wrongs. And if you become still for a moment and just open yourself up to being critical, just as a little experiment, opening yourself up to judgment, you begin to sense it. it feels a little jarring to the body. It doesn't, it's not a life affirming state of awareness. A self-absorbed person will look at the bad and the good, and he takes sides. And you know, we see with everything happening in our environment and all the conspiracy theorists and some people having some opinion and some people having another opinion, it can be quite compelling. It can really be quite compelling. And it's really important, I feel, because sometimes people, when they look at this, will say, well, what do you mean? Does it mean you just don't act? And I say, no. My experience has shown me that that person who's more self-aware, they act spontaneously from that space of freedom rather than that from that space of judgment and procrastination. So you're acting. It's not that you're not acting, but you're not acting from a space of resistance, but more from spontaneity and awareness. And so someone who's self-absorbed, they are the victim. Things are happening to them. It's a bad government. It's a bad world. God doesn't like them. Someone doesn't like them because of their religion, their culture, their nationality, their gender. You can really become lost in this bipartisan attitude. But what it boils down to is that the self-aware person is continuously on a path of softening. And really this is important to understand, is because we are on this path, we are not holier than thou. It's so easy to be hard on oneself, and I should know better, but yes, things will get triggered. But as your movement becomes continuous, as your self-awareness deepens, those triggers or patterns begin to wane, they begin to soften as you begin to reclaim that energy that's lost in those patterns. Whereas the person who's self-absorbed will really be lost lost in the complexities of their mind, lost in the labyrinth of their clouds, and they don't even know they're creating resistance. Why do I say this? Why have I mentioned this? It's because I guess this, with 1 billion, 2 billion plus people who may be more self-absorbed because they are exposed to things on television and things around them, they're in resistance. And when you've got this mass energy of resistance, a mass consciousness of resistance, it has a mighty energy and it's very compelling. The fear, the stuff can be very, very compelling. It can pull you. And I gave this analogy last time as well, that we are part of nature. We're not separate to nature. We are part of nature. And when the collective mind is turbulent, nature's going to be turbulent. And as we settle down, our environment begins to settle down. But sometimes the intensity of this resistance and the intensity of that momentum over years and with years and years of practice means that vibration is very heavy. So what happens is that the consciousness, coming back to the right-hand side here, becomes very, very dense, very dense. Whilst as you are in a movement over years of softening and softening, thought process becoming more subtle, more easier. So now we're in a world, we're in an environment where many people around us are operating from this sense of resistance. Now, I'm going to, this is not us versus them scenario. We are not holier than thou here to save the world. That's not where I'm going with this. But if I'm unconscious, I'm complicit to feeding the resistance that seems to be creating a lot of chaos in our environment. So my last and my only responsibility is to soften my own resistance, to become self-aware. And if you're going to get down the pathway of trying to convince other people, just the very act of convincing them and making them see things the right way, meaning your way, you are going to create resistance. So what do we do? What do we do with all this dense energy that seems to be feeding fear, lack, control, greed? And this is a model that someone presented. I feel it's a simple model and it's a nice model to work with. Because you'll see that all conversations, text messages, emails, what we see on television, the conversation we have with people, a lot of the time, behind the words, there's this energy of fear, of lack, control and greed. And if we're not aware, I can become complicit to feeding that fear, that lack, that control, that greed, and become complicit, I guess, to feeding the heaviness and the resistance that seems to be permeating the world. So I feel that what I'm presenting to you is not something that the average person who has just stepped on the path of self-awareness may understand. I guess today's session is reaching out to those people, and I'm assuming it's all of you. You've logged on here and we are this movement together that we're working through. It's because you're on a path of self-awareness and self-understanding. So I'm not speaking to someone who's totally new to this. Because there I am meditating. I'm softening out. I'm softening my resistance over many years. I'm on the path of self-awareness, religiously, spiritually. I'm gathering this energy. I understand meditation to be more than just a practice. It's a state of awareness that fills my life where I have that presencefulness. Again, that word I'm using as I engage the environment. But then what? Because I've got to interact with people. And I feel this is where last week's session got quite interesting, because those of us who are on this journey of self-awareness, there will come a time when we realize that everything around us is a play of energy. And that means really there has to be that conscious awareness to step beyond judgment and labeling and rights and wrongs and goods and bads. And so when words are shared on text, on emails, and the news, when we see these things, to sense the energy behind the words, to sense the energy behind the words. to sense the fear, whether the person's coming from a space of lack or control or greed, because no one is bad. No one is bad. Everyone is essentially high vibration energy. But their identity has become locked in their respective clouds. So no one is bad. So we're getting away from this bad or good or this judgment. And as our practice deepens, we need to be just aware when someone is speaking, that we are aware that where they're speaking from. So it's really stepping behind the words, behind the actions, recognizing. And so I've recognized, so what? So what I've recognized. As you know, in our practice of self-awareness, that practice of being the sky, we endeavor to hold a vibration, a higher vibration that feels good to us. And we do that through a number of ways, through our meditation practice, through our religious and spiritual practice, through our readings, from our reflections. But the idea is that we are continuously looking to smooth away that resistance and enjoy the higher vibration that feels good. So the practice really, as we go and engage the world, is that we bring a higher vibration into the dynamic with people. So it's from that vibration that we express words and actions and interactions. It's not about fixing the other person. No one needs fixing. I feel that the way we're going at the moment, there is incredible movement happening. People are realizing. A friend of mine once said, you will change when you've had realizations or you've had enough pain. And I think a lot of people are waking up now, but we've got to create that environment for that movement to take place, as opposed to convince people that this is how you should be thinking and this is what you should be doing. I think our vibration has to serve. Our self-awareness has to serve. So we engage in the world with that higher vibration that we are smoothing out, and it does, and you will get angry, you will get irritated, and you will judge, we will do all of these things. And you'll become aware that, oh, you know what did I do there? And it won't feel right to you. But the journey continues, 1 foot above the other, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other. As you see your patterns wane and smooth out. And to know that, and I guess we can't see it, but your vibration is having an immense effect on your environment. There's an old saying, I'm sure you've heard it before. I'm a little rusty with it. Let's see if it comes out. But you've heard this: when there's light in the soul, there's beauty in a person. When there's beauty in a person, there's harmony in a house. And when there's harmony in a house, there's order in a nation. And when there's order in a nation, there's peace in the world. So it really starts off with the self. It starts off with the self. Our work is all about the self, not about fixing other people. Now it gets interesting, because I'm going to share a little bit about my movement with the aspect of control. And I feel it's important, guys, that as we work, we're working together. We're moving together with this. It's not I am any better than you, or I'm telling you what to do. Our movement has to be together. So I want to share a little something that was quite authentic for me. Control is one of those things that I've really had to work on very deeply. And it comes from some of my limiting beliefs that are a lot better of powerlessness and helplessness. things, early life experiences that deepen those clouds, those beliefs from me. So there was a lot of control in my life, and I feel is a lot better. It's still there to some extent. So I've been experimenting with this whole practice, and it's become really interesting that when I'm engaging people or reading texts, or I'm sensing the energy, is this fear or lack or control? And sometimes you really gotta, it's not so visible. You gotta really tease it out to see where this person is coming from. And so I'm not labeling, calling them bad. I'm just making sure that I'm not complicit to the energy they're in. I'm gonna close this sharing. And so I think because control is something that I've been working on, it stands out a lot more for me. I see mirrors around me that trigger my sense of control. No one is controlling to me. They trigger within me what's unresolved and unevolved. No one does anything to me. I'm aware of that. And so the idea is, yes, I am trying to sense the energy in people, but then my stuff is going to be triggered. And so what's the journey? What's the movement with this? So I was going for a walk yesterday evening, late in the evening. And I often say hello to the security guards and the people in my neighborhood. And I guess because I'd been looking at this control and it seemed to be the dominant energy that I was observing through the day. As I passed through one of the security guards, and I extend a greeting and say hello, say salam to them. And one is always looks at me in a very stern way and very non-welcoming way, and not a big thing. I doesn't do much to me, but I guess because of this being a lot more aware and sensing control, I found myself irritated. Just I could see that an active vibration within me had been triggered. Now here's what happens. When that vibration gets triggered, what started off was just a little bit of a head dialogue that started. And I could see this dialogue in my mind and just having a conversation about him. And before I knew it, this conversation had gone into other things and other scenarios because that vibration was active. And I came home and my sister, we were eating together, and maybe she was going through something and she sort of said something in a rather assertive manner. And I also replied a bit curtly to her, a little strong. And now I could really sense this momentum building. And this head was a little bit noisier. So the vibration was very active. And I'm sharing this with you because it is not all roses and rainbows because you're on a spiritual path. It's a very real, ignorance is bliss in a manner of speaking. And as you become more self-aware, you see things happening to you, or you see yourself responding in a particular way. And so now it was building up. Now I know in the past that I have not been aware of this energy because I always used to distract myself. And that's our childhood way of taking care of ourselves. So you watch television, you're on the internet, you're on something, and before you know it, that energy calms down because you've taken your attention away from it. It calms down, it doesn't resolve itself, but you divert, you distract. But as you move in life, as your journey continues, you realize that this is not a lasting solution. So you can sleep it off sometimes, and sleeping is one way that breaks that momentum. You can go for a walk, As I said, distract yourself. But all of this stuff is kind of generating energy. And so I realized that my head dialogue is a lot better, but it's still there. My distractions are a lot better. I don't gravitate towards distractions as much, but they're still there. And so that space of meditation, I keep on going, I keep on going, I keep on going and experiencing that wholeness, that oneness, gathering the energy throughout the day, because there comes a point, and I feel a tipping point, when things that previously pulled you in, you can now observe them. And you don't become complicit in that moment, in feeding that vibration, that resistance. The conversations are happening less and less. You're aware because you have more power to respond differently. And that's not going to happen unless you really are aware of what meditation is. Disconnection is not an option. Now, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen as your meditation deepens, as you're gathering energy, as you're becoming aware of your habit of distraction, and so you become aware of not distracting yourself. You become aware of the head fights, the mind dialogues. You become aware. And so they become less and less and less. The irritation becomes less. The distractions are no longer working or no longer necessary. So all this stuff is going down. Now, what do you think is going to happen? You see, your head fight, your mind fight, your distraction, your anger, your control, your resistance, they're all there for you to take care of yourself, for you to regulate your nervous system, for you to cope with your environment. Now they're not there. When I mean your environment, I don't mean the outside environment. I mean the emotions internally that get triggered that we don't know how to face. And so we distract ourselves away, or we get into these head fights. Because what's going to happen, my experience, was these emotions connected with helplessness and powerlessness, they will emerge. The fire will emerge because they're a movement, right? They're a movement that you've been feeding over such a long period of time. But now, as your work deepens, as you become more and more self-aware, as you're gathering more and more energy, now you have a capacity to allow this movement to come up. And it'll be like a storm sometimes as it makes its way out. And this whole process can be very jarring. It can feel very unfamiliar because sometimes feeling crap has become normal. Living in anxiety has become normal. Fear, control, all of these things have become so normal. Your body's so used to that emotional chemical environment. So as you begin to let go, what's going to happen, guys? It's going to feel really unfamiliar. You're going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel odd. It's like a withdrawal process for someone who's on drugs. And quite literally, it is no different because you're no longer feeding the old habits, your old ways. But guess what? growth never takes place in the familiar. So when your old patterns go, the old furniture goes, there is space for new perceptions, new ways of looking at the world. Now, the older you get, this becomes a little bit more tricky, because better the devil you know, right? Better the devil you know than what you don't. So, our work is to deepen that power within. In our meditation, we gather energy. And as we connect with the world, we connect behind the words. And just try this. Go behind every form of communication, your text messages, the news, what people are saying. You'll be able to connect with that denser energy behind. And your role is to hold a higher vibration. That's what a spiritual path is about. But within that space, your stuff is going to be triggered. And so this conversation was just me sharing with you. We're all in the same, we're all doing the same. We're all trying to smooth out these things, smooth out these head dialogues, these distractions. Ultimately, these emotions will come up and will move on, deepening your inner freedom. And this takes work. This is not a dinner conversation we're having. This takes work. This takes, it's I would say it's the highest of all arts, knowing the self. But then the rewards that come from this are very profound. Because I think freedom from my patterns just allows me to live a life that's a lot more joyous and open and profound and free. So just a little bit of an addition from last week, because I felt we left the space feeling really empowered that yes, it seems, to sense that energy behind what people are saying, it makes so much sense because I've got to engage with the world. But within that process, my stuff is going to be triggered. It is going to be triggered. And so we're in that continuous process of smoothing out, knowing that you are making a difference. I promise you, knowing that you are making a difference to your life and those people around you. We may not be able to see it because vibration energy cannot be seen, but you will be able to see the difference you make as you start becoming freer and easier and more whole and more lighter and less reactive, more joyous. It feels really good. It feels good. So one thing I'm going to leave you with, we touched upon this last time as we finish off the session. So yes, you're sensing the energy of fear, lack, control, and greed. And as you gather more energy and power that develops with your spiritual practice, I feel it's a great art to change the inner dialogue, your inner conversation. Soon as you see it leaning towards something that's critical, judgmental, your body you'll feel the resistance in your body. It's not going to feel good to you. It's not going to feel holy and free and light and life affirming. It's not going to feel that. And so I feel that to change that dialogue requires a certain amount of self-awareness. I mean, if your momentum is so deep, if you're so used to resistance, changing your dialogue, it's not going to come anytime soon. But as you become more self-aware, gathering energy, you will be able to change that dialogue. And as you begin to change that dialogue, you'll see you're softening the resistance, softening the resistance. So I really feel it's a very deep spiritual practice to see a dialogue coming and to change it very rapidly. And the dialogue could be, I go back to that reference of the security guard, and as my dialogue started, the dialogue could be something like, you know, he's fasting, he may not be feeling too good. He normally says hello to me and normally is polite, but he's probably going through something, and it's okay for him to be going through something. And I wish him well, and I hope he has a better, you know, just a different kind of a dialogue to one that's accusory and one's that's irritated. So changing your dialogue will come from your practice of meditation. Being able to sense the energy of fear, lack, control, greed will come from your practice of meditation. Does that make sense? Yeah? Are you, so I feel this, so let me, yeah. Okay, so I will, I'll call it, we'll call it an evening today. I will put the video up in case anyone wants to have a look. Vimeo.com, it's on Vimeo, Vimeo, vimeo.com/my name, Tahir, TAHIRKHAN. Okay, we'll put the video up there shortly. Great work, guys. Great work. Thank you all very much. The work deepens. And next week, longer and deeper meditation. Take care. Have a great evening. Bye for now.